This video tutorial explains what is a null pointer exception, how to identify what caused this exception, and finally how to fix it. Before we learn about the null pointer exception, it is necessary for us to understand what is an object reference in Java. This statement creates an object of string class using the new keyword and assigns it to a reference named str. Here, the str is an object reference of type string. An object reference contains the address of the class object. In other words, a reference points to an actual object stored in the Java heap memory. Here, the str reference contains the address of the string object, containing the string hi. We can access the object fields or call the object methods using the reference like this. Since the str reference is pointing to the string object containing hi, the return value of the toUpperCase method will be capital Hi. Consider this statement. Here, the str reference is assigned a null value. That means it does not refer to any string object. Such references are called empty or null references because they do not point to any object in the heap memory. When we try to access any fields or call any methods of the object using such null reference, a null pointer exception is thrown. The null pointer exception simply means that the reference that was used to access object field or method points to a null value instead of an actual object. As per the null pointer exception Java document, it is thrown when an application attempts to use null in a case when object is required. Here are some of the cases where a null pointer exception will be thrown. Accessing a field or calling a method of a null object is the most common reason for the null pointer exception, as we have seen in this example. In addition to that, accessing a length property of a null array or throwing a null instead of an instance of the throwable class also causes the null pointer exception. Now let's learn how to identify what caused the null pointer exception in our code. Let's write a simple class to demonstrate how to easily identify the exact problem that caused the null pointer exception. The class test has one string builder instance variable named SB. The public constructor appends a string to that string builder object. The test class also has a print message method that simply prints the string builder content. The main method creates an object of the class test and calls the print message method. Now, let's run this code and see what happens. The code throws the null pointer exception. Let's analyze the output and try to figure out why that happened. Reading the stack trace is the most important thing while trying to figure out what went wrong. Generally, this is how Java exception is printed in the output. The first line shows the thread name, followed by the exact exception, followed by a colon, and then the exception message. The stack trace is printed from the next line onwards. In our example, the main is the thread name, java.lang.nullpointerexception is the exception name, and this is the exception message. Now, let's learn how to read the stack trace. The Java stack trace starts from the end. That means the first method call that leads to the exception is printed at the end of the stack trace. The second method is printed at the second last position, and so on. In our example, the main method gets called first, so it is printed at the end. The test constructor gets called next, when the main method creates an object of the test class in the first line, so it is printed at the second last position, above the main method. This is the line where the exception has occurred. Now, with the help of the exception message, we can easily conclude that the string builder object is null, that is why the exception has occurred. Let's fix that by creating a new string builder object and assign it to the SB reference. Let's save the code and run it again. This time, the code does not throw the null pointer exception. I hope this tutorial helped you understand the null pointer exception in Java. If you like this tutorial, please press the like button and subscribe to my channel.